Yo, welcome back to the GM Podcast. I'm Miller, and today we are going to be discussing the NFL wild card round that just happened. It was a very entertaining round, even though there were a couple of blowouts. Not a couple, there were 5 blowouts. But obviously, Gavin and Garrison aren't here with us. They'll be with us soon enough, but today we're going to be discussing this wild card round solo dolo. Let's get into it. Chargers at Texans. Chargers absolutely get obliterated in this one, 32-12. I did watch this game. I watched every single one of the games. And let's talk about Justin Herbert, obviously. I think that's going to be the main topic of discussion. Justin Herbert was not good in this game. He wasn't good. Justin Herbert was 14 for 32, 242 yards, a touchdown, 4 interceptions. Lad McConkey added 197. He had 197 of those yards. So obviously, Justin Herbert, first year under Harbaugh. We didn't even expect them to get to a 5 seed. So I think they lost the playoff game. They still overexceeded expectations for the year. But this is a concern because in Justin Herbert's 2 playoff appearances, he has underwhelmed tremendously. And let's be real about this thing. Other than maybe CJ Stroud, who just beat him, and those top 4 quarterbacks that we always talk about, Burrow, Lamar, Allen, and Mahomes, maybe Jayden Daniels at this point, who I'll get to later, and Matthew Stafford, who in the playoffs is great. You're not really taking anybody over Herbert, even with this performance. You can't convincingly tell me that even Baker, you're not going to take Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield over a guy like Justin Herbert. It's not happening. Maybe Jalen Hurts. I'm going to get to that point later because I got a lot to say. Justin Herbert is a guy that underperforms. We can label him now with 2 playoff performances. He is a guy that doesn't show up in the biggest moments. That's okay. I don't think that will stand because, once again, it is the first year under Harbaugh, and he has a tight end that cannot catch the ball. Doyle, or whatever his name was, Disley, I believe his name. Will Disley dropped 2 in this game that were horrendous. One ended up in the pick. One ended up in, I think, them having to settle for a field goal, and he would have had that first down if he caught that one. Quentin Johnson with a couple drops in this one. It's tough with Quentin Johnson because he obviously made progress this year, but do you want to bet on a guy that's obviously not reliable with his hands? So the main priority for this Chargers organization is to get a number 1 outside guy, whether that does come in the draft, whether that comes in free agency. I know Amari Cooper is a free agent. I know T. Higgins, who we've been talking about the Chargers getting for a while, is a free agent. So they do need to go get that, but this game was lost when Justin Herbert threw a pick 6, unforced, that made it a 2-possession game. That's when the game was lost. This game was still in the balance, and Justin Herbert did lose them this game. He did not help the cause of this team winning a football game, even though I think the 4 interceptions doesn't tell the true story of how he played. He wasn't 4 interceptions bad, but he did lose this game for his team. So hopefully that doesn't continue, especially with the second year under Jim Harbaugh. If that does continue, then we're going to have real conversation about maybe Justin Herbert not being the guy that we think he is. But once again, I'm going to give him grace because it is his first year under Jim Harbaugh. It's their first year of a new regime. So I think they'll be back and better next year. Now let's get to the Texans side of things. CJ Stroud is officially back. I knew this would happen. Didn't think it would be enough for them to carry them over the Chargers because they haven't been able to score all year. But CJ Stroud is a guy that me and Gavin both coming into the season said was going to be the second best quarterback because of the weapons he was blessed with. Mixon, Dell, Diggs, obviously Nico Collins, but 2 of those guys are gone now, and he's still making it work. CJ Stroud was amazing. 22 for 33, 262 yards, a touchdown, an interception, and he was amazing in this game. And once again, I just value gamers, man. I do value gamers. And CJ Stroud is a gamer. When you get to those big moments, CJ Stroud is going to play great football. Joe Mixon, they found a little bit of a rushing attack in this game as well, 168 yards. And if you watch this game, I don't know if you guys are with me, but did CJ Stroud look a teeny bit faster than he usually did? He had 42 rushing yards in this game. He played great. And then Nico Collins had 122 yards, 7 receptions. That's what the formula for success for this team is going to be from now on. Because obviously Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs are no longer in the equation. Nico's going to have big games, and Joe Mixon is going to they got to have a respectable running game at the least. And this defense, man, holding this team to 6 points and in the first 3 quarters, and then obviously allowing that touchdown to Ladd McConkey was atrocious. But that was honestly a great throw. It was a kind of a freak play that happened, so I don't really blame the Texans defense for it. As far as them going to Kansas City, I believe in them. I strongly believe in them because we haven't seen Kansas City. Kansas City is bound to be a little bit rusty. Maybe I wouldn't bet my money on Houston, first off. I do think Kansas City is going to win that game, but I don't think it's impossible. I actually think it's more likely for Houston to win this week than for Baltimore or Buffalo to go into Kansas City next week and win. Because Kansas City, with a game under their belt, going into Arrowhead for a championship, I can't say they're going to lose that game. But this game in particular, like CJ, this defense, DeMeco Ryans is a top 10 coach right now. If he gets this defense ready to go and they can make it hard for Kansas City, keep it a 1-possession game at least at halftime, then you're betting on CJ Stroud, and I like betting on CJ Stroud, honestly. CJ Stroud has obviously picked up some momentum based off of this game, and the only flaw of that Kansas City defense has been that back end. So I do think they might have a chance. I would say it's going to be a 1-possession game. I think they're going to get a fight out of Houston, and I'm excited to see what they can do because I don't see them getting to a Super Bowl, obviously. I don't think Houston can beat. I think Houston actually matches up with Kansas City better than they match up with either Buffalo or Baltimore right now. But we will see. We will see. Kansas City, it's playoff football, so you always got to watch out. But, yeah, other than that, I really have nothing else to say about that game. I don't think it should be a bad loss for the Chargers. I don't think Chargers fans should be demoralized off of this loss. And Texans, once again, winning a playoff game. Same 4 teams that were in the divisional round last year. So let's see if the Texans can make something happen. And once again, props to DeMeco Ryans. I think he's been forgotten about as a coach, what he did last year. Let's not forget about how good of a coach he is. He's a top 10 coach. If you were one to coach, he would be in your top 10 picks. Moving on, Saturday night football, Steelers versus Ravens. Ravens won 28-14. This game was never really close. Obviously, 2-possession game. It wasn't a 2-possession game. If it wasn't for some plays by George Pickens making a fantastic catch, I mean, that guy's so talented, they wouldn't have been nowhere close in this game. And honestly, what the main thing that we have to talk about in this is what happens to Mike Tomlin. All right, so in my opinion, they do need to go their separate ways. And it's because Mike Tomlin he's did his time there. I don't think Mike Tomlin is a bad coach at all, especially as far as scheming for these games. I think Mike Tomlin's recipe for success is running the football and playing defense, which is still an effective method to winning football games today. But it's done. It's done. He went, and I think it's not his fault that he's out because once again, he just wins so many more games than that roster should win every single year that they're never in a position to take a quarterback. I mean, Russell Wilson, yeah, okay, he was decent this year, yes. But he's not beating those superhuman quarterbacks that live in the AFC. I mean, the 4 quarterbacks that are in the divisional round now, Justin Herbert is still there, and Joe Burrow didn't even make the playoffs this year. So to expect Russell Wilson to win you a playoff game in this conference, it was crazy. And obviously, let me defend Garrison a little bit. No, as much as you want to say, I obviously thought this was going to be under 10 points, which is what was the spread. Garrison said he thought the Steelers were going to win, which obviously in hindsight is horrible, and TikTok comments were going crazy on that one. But you'd never expect the Pittsburgh Steelers to get blown out by the Baltimore Ravens. And that's a sign of why this thing might be coming to an end. Because, once again, I mean, I think these were fluke stats. Russell Wilson had 270 yards, and it didn't seem like it. Like, the Ravens absolutely clamped everything up, and they ran for 300 yards in this game. Lamar Jackson also had his best playoff game to date that I've watched with my own 2 eyes. So that could be a stepping stone for Baltimore as well. And I do have Baltimore winning next week, and we'll get to that when we do. But just an amazing performance by Baltimore without Zay Flowers, by the way. And, yeah, Mike Tomlin, any team looking for a head coach, Mike Tomlin should be at the top of your list. Obviously, it didn't work out with Pittsburgh these last couple of years, but he was dealing with Russell Wilson, Kenny Pickett, old Big Ben Roethlisberger, who literally was a burger in the pocket in his tenure, at the end of his tenure with the Steelers. So Yeah, he wasn't really dealt the cards to win at a high level for these last couple of years. What I do wonder is how much is Mike Tomlin involved with personnel? Because obviously his defense is always good. We don't got, and they weren't good in this game, which once again is a sign. But if your formula is running and defense, why has your offensive line not been great for the past 10 years? I don't remember a great Steelers offensive line. So once again, if you're a team looking for Mike Tomlin, go get him. Pittsburgh, it's time to switch some things up. Honestly, I would take a risk on a coach. I would want to bottom out if I was the Steelers, so I could get a quarterback, because right now that's what your franchise has been lacking since Big Ben was good. And once again, Baltimore, they have a chance to do some things this year if Lamar Jackson is playing like he was. So props to the Ravens. They move on to Buffalo. And I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a preview of every single divisional game happening as well. We'll get to that when we get to that. Next game to discuss, Bills at Broncos, the 1 o'clock game on Sunday, or Broncos at Bills. This game was close. This game was close for a long time until it was 4th and 1, and Josh Allen made one of the most superhuman plays I've ever seen in my life, and he just proved why he's Josh Allen, honestly. I don't think anybody ever thought the Bills were going to lose this one, but with 3 minutes left, it was a one-possession. 3 minutes left in the third quarter, it was a one-possession game. So obviously, the Bills ran away with this one. I think they scored 31 unanswered points because Bo Nix scored so early. But, yeah, I'm not high on Bo Nix, but he did show flashes this year of what he can be, and I don't think he's a superhuman quarterback like the likes of Mahomes and Allen and Lamar, but he can definitely be a good quarterback in this league. I don't think there's any doubt about that, especially from what he's shown. He's a mobile quarterback. He has a big arm, which I didn't see that in college at all. I think he developed that in the NFL, the big arm that he has. But the Broncos are another team, just along with the Chargers, that this is the worst they're going to be for a while. Their receiving talent is good, but it's not the greatest. Their defense was obviously good, but in this last couple of weeks, they've been horrible. I mean, they allowed a lot of points to the Bengals, or not a lot, but they allowed 27 to the Bengals last week playing the Chiefs. Obviously, the Chiefs had all their starters, but the Chargers, they gave up a good amount of points to the Chargers, so they'll go back to the drawing board, and they're going to be a better team, and that AFC West is looking dangerous for years to come. In the Bills side, they move on. They're at Buffalo against Baltimore, so that's going to be the game of the playoffs, unless Detroit plays Philly. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited because if Josh Allen can win this game, I think it does prove that he is the MVP. And I don't know when voters vote, honestly. I'm not educated to that. Maybe they already voted because it is a regular season award. But this game is happening while an MVP hasn't been chosen. And it's going to have big MVP implications, even though I do still think Saquon Barkley is the MVP. Yeah, it's going to have big MVP It's going to be a close game. It's going to be a close game because of the fact that it is in Buffalo, but I just don't think Buffalo matches up very well with Baltimore. But once again, I'm going to get to that when I get to that. Eagles beat the Packers 22-10. Jordan Love was atrocious in this one. I think he had 3 interceptions, and obviously I wasn't mad at the first one on the go ball because that's just one where Darius Slay made an amazing play. But I'll be real, as an Eagles fan, they should have gotten that ball when we laid out, or when we came out on a kickoff and absolutely blasted Nixon. He did have possession of the ball, but guess what? Don't fumble the ball. It's that simple, honestly. And honestly, I don't want to say deserved, because obviously there's no deserved if he obviously has possession of the ball. But the way we came out, I was in this room right here watching this game on that big TV right there, and the way we came out and hit that dude, that got the tone started from the get-go. And the thing I love about this Eagles team that is so different from last year's team is it feels like this team is the most physical that I've ever seen from an Eagles team. This team runs to the football, hits, and there was a lot of injuries on that Green Bay side, but a lot of those injuries was because of our physicality. Jayden Reed running a slant across the middle gets absolutely killed by Reed Blankenship. Their left guard, I forgot what his name was. Nolan Smith hit him with a low-key helmet to shoulder. I don't know if that's legal or not, but he absolutely took him out. So Josh Jacobs got hurt later in this game, and Josh Jacobs, you played amazing in this game. I don't think we're going to run into a running back like that until Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs is also a good running back, but Josh Jacobs is a great running back, and I think they made a lot of good moves. But Jordan Love does have to take that next step next year for them to get where they want to get. I had them I had them getting to the Super Bowl this year, winning the NFC. I was wrong, obviously, but yeah, I mean they're okay. The Green Bay's okay. They're going to continue to grow. They're still a young team. I do think they need to get a number one receiver, and obviously the wide receiver by committee, it works. It does work, but obviously Christian Watson getting hurt hurts that dynamic. But it doesn't feel like Jordan Love ever has that guy like, I'm going to throw to this guy because he's going to win his matchup. He doesn't have that guy. So I would go see if I could get a number one guy, maybe get a pass rusher if I'm Green Bay. But they'll be fine. I mean, they were just a worse team in this game. So, yeah, props to the Packers on what they did. And they absolutely had opportunities to come back in this game and win it because once we were playing horrible on offense. But let's get to why we're playing horrible on offense. Now, Saquon Barkley, 119 yards, played great, but he wasn't really running the ball that effectively to start this game. Obviously, Devontae Smith, 55 yards, Dallas Goedert, 47 yards, A.J. Brown, 1 catch, 10 yards. So my thing is this. You have to find a way to get A.J. Brown the ball more than one time. And that's not a Jalen Hurts problem. That is a Kellen Moore problem. Because if I was the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, I would try to get A.J. Brown the ball more than, I mean, Jalen Hurts obviously only threw it to him 3 times. But if I'm sitting in a meeting and Kellen Moore is laying out the game plan, why is A.J. Brown not getting just simple screen passes, simple touches? There's not a quarterback in the NFL that if schemed the right way is not going to get the ball to A.J. Brown more than one time. I don't blame that on Jalen Hurts. I blame that on Kellen Moore. And Jalen Hurts has been getting the majority of the blame this week, which is fine because he didn't play great. He honestly, I mean, completion percentage was good, but he obviously had that big stretch in the middle where he didn't have a completion. I just think the argument with Jalen Hurts is extremely, how do I put this? Yeah, the argument about Jalen Hurts right now is just unnecessary. I mean, we talk about it every time, and it's always after a win how the only downfall of this team is going to be Jalen Hurts. I had to sit down last night or yesterday, watch sports media about how Greg Jennings said the only way they lose is if Jalen Hurts plays bad. Nick Wright agreed. Chris Broussard agreed. Shady McCoy, Eagles legend, who was on our hype video, stated if Tanner McKee or Kenny Pickett was in the game, they would have blown them out. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? And I'm confused on when Jalen Hurts is doing so bad, why he gets so much hate, and when he's doing good, why he doesn't. I'm confused on the Super Bowl year. Well, the defense was a middling defense. If you look back at the stats, they were literally the definition of an average defense. Offensive line, obviously, Eagles' offensive line is always good. But I've always heard the coach for the Philadelphia Eagles is a bottom-tier coach. I always hear that. That year, the running back was not great. It was Miles Sanders, who in Carolina now can't get any tick over Chuba Hubbard. So I'm a little confused on where his credit was then as a passer compared to what it is now, when he managed this game to perfection because he knows his defense is going to take care of it 100% of the time, especially against this Green Bay team who was completely depleted. I would trade Jalen Hurts' performance. Let's say this. I value Jalen Hurts' performance on Sunday against the Green Bay Packers over Jordan Love, who lost them this game, over Justin Herbert, who lost them that game with a pick six that was unforced in a one-possession game. I will trade that for Sam Darnold's performance, who I heard was a top 10 quarterback this whole year. I don't want to hear that we already knew who Sam Darnold. No, I heard Sam Darnold was one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time under Kevin O'Connell all year. I heard he was an MVP candidate all year. I would trade Hurts' performance over Justin Herbert, who is widely considered a top 5 quarterback, Jordan Love, who people thought was going to be the MVP this year, and Sam Darnold. So, once again, Jalen Hurts plays to the level of what the team needs him to play to. So if Matthew Stafford, who it's playoff Matthew Stafford time, if he comes out and scores 38 next week, Jalen Hurts is going to come out and score 41. And the conversation once again becomes tiring. It becomes tiring because we see it once and once again. We doubt him after the Carolina Panthers game, who once again were finding their footing at the end of the season. And then he comes out against the Pittsburgh Steelers and does what he needs to do once again. And looks amazing as a passer. One of the most amazing games I've seen from Jalen Hurts. But that doesn't get brought up. The narrative after that game was, why is he acting like this now? After he goes to the press conference and says, is that what y'all wanted to see? Where was his credit then? Where was his credit then? Because guess what? I do trust Jalen Hurts more than Justin Herbert in a playoff game as of this moment. I do trust him more than Jordan Love as of this moment. The only quarterbacks in the NFC that I don't trust Jalen Hurts more than is Jayden Daniels, who I'll get to later, and Matthew Stafford, who has proven that he is a great NFL playoff quarterback. But let's not diminish what Jalen Hurts is as a talent in this league. Just because he's not the same passer as, pick him out. If passing is so important, then Spencer Rattler would be a top 10 quarterback right now. But he's not. So let's look at how these quarterbacks affect winning. Jalen Hurts, what he could have done, he could have thrown a pick to get them in plus territory and give them free points. Nope, that's what Jordan Love does. He could have thrown a pick six in a one-possession game to lose them the game. Nope, that's a Herbert thing. Find me evidence of Jalen Hurts losing a game for the Philadelphia Eagles, Greg Jennings, Nick Wright. Find me evidence of him losing a game for this team, and then I will be like, okay, your point is valid. But this team is not going to lose because of Jalen Hurts' play. That narrative has never happened. That's a made-up narrative based on Jalen Hurts' passing stats this year. Because last year, defense was horrible. A defense we found out to be 100% horrible. How did we end up 10-1? Was it because of the defense last year? Was it because of the coaching last year? Was it because of the OC last year who was fired? I don't know. Was it because of DeAndre Swift? You tell me the Eagles started 10-1 last year because of DeAndre Swift. I don't know. We got to start finding the right criticisms for this team. It's like we're fishing. Maybe let's just recognize, okay, Philadelphia, they have a good quarterback. They have a good running back. They have a good O-line. They have a good receivers. They have a good defense. This team is legit. And what they did on Sunday was go out, and it was a 12-point game, but they left Green Bay on a stretcher. They beat them up the entire game, and it was never close. It was never close. So, all right, I'm going hard right now. So if Jalen Hurts does come out and perform poorly and loses a game, then we're gonna see. We're gonna see. But right now, I just have to see him play bad in a big game before we come up with narratives. Nick Wright saying he's the weakest link of the team. Okay, I'm losing it. Maybe, and if he is the weakest link of the team, then he should be everybody's Super Bowl pick. I'm done with that little rant. All right, I don't have anything else to say. Obviously, Nakobe Dean's out for the remainder of the playoffs. That sucks. I am scared because Nakobe Dean was playing his ass off this year, but I think we'll be fine, especially against the Rams. I think we'll beat the Rams. But yeah, I'm gonna go over those matchups later, and we will see. Commanders at Bucks, they won 23-20, the only good game of this wild card weekend. Let me check the box score on this one. Jayden Daniels was 24 for 35, had 268 yards. He had 36 yards rushing as well. Obviously, the late game run to win this game for them. Jayden Daniels is the best quarterback in the NFC since Aaron Rodgers. Since Aaron Rodgers was good. And that might have been, 2020? So, and that might sound like a crazy statement, but when you look at the scale of the league, all the superhero quarterbacks are in the NFC or AFC. Jayden Daniels is literally, and we don't want to compare him to these guys because we don't want to put the pressure on these guys, but just be objective for a second. Don't take what I'm saying out of context. Jayden Daniels runs like Lamar Jackson and has the poise of Matthew Stafford. And as a deep ball thrower, that deep ball he threw to Terry McLaurin out the gate was beautiful. So I don't want to get too ahead of this guy. I don't want to put pressure on him because he might have a sophomore slump next year. And it won't matter because, once again, C.J. Stroud is still a good quarterback just because he had a down year. But Jayden Daniels is the absolute goods. I'm mad that he has to be in the Eagles division, honestly. But he is the best quarterback in the NFC since Aaron Rodgers. This dude is a superhero, and the entire NFC, until we find another one, needs to be scared of the Washington Commanders because this is the worst they're going to be. I mean, offensive line, not great. Defense, not great. You got one receiver. You got a couple good running backs, average running backs. This is the worst they are going to be. And heading to Detroit, I don't know. But Jayden Daniels, he's special, man. I mean, there's nothing he cannot do. And it's looking like he's going to be an all-time great. Throw all the, well, you're judging him too early. I don't care how early I'm judging him. This is some of the best quarterback play I've ever seen. Simply as that. You've never seen a quarterback run like this. And I feel like, I'll throw this in as well. I feel like his frame helps him in a way. His lanky frame, because even that, if he was a big, slower guy, he wouldn't get that stiff arm away and make that fourth down or third down conversion at the end of the game. He wouldn't have got that. So, Jayden Daniels is good, man. He's good. I'm scared of him. And I've told this story already. They sat him week 18, and I'm like, they're just okay with losing. They want to come to Philly, and I was kind of scared. I'm like, yo, put him back in. Let's win this game, Washington, because I don't want to play. I don't want to play Jayden Daniels. So hopefully Detroit takes care of business there. But it doesn't matter because Philly's going to the Super Bowl. And then last game, Vikings. Oh wait, let me talk about the Bucs. Sorry guys. Baker, obviously that late fumble. I think it's came out recently that it was on the rookie center. So I don't know. The tough thing about this Tampa Bay team is how much better do you get? Obviously, that back end is horrible. They were 29th in pass defense, but it does feel like you kind of did have to win this game. I don't think this is a win that you just be like, okay, we'll be back next year. No, it hurts. It hurts for Tampa Bay, and Baker, I think, still played decent in this game. I mean, obviously that turnover was crucial, but I think he still played decent. And Mike Evans and this receiving core, obviously Chris Godwin is a free agent, I think, coming up, so we're going to see what he does. But this receiving core is still good. I mean, they have Jalen McMillan. They have a great running back in Bucky Irving. Offensive line is pretty good. Obviously, their front seven is amazing. So maybe they make adjustments in that back end of the defense and get even better. But as of right now, I just don't see them getting way better, especially with the trajectory of the rest of the NFC and Atlanta in their division. I just don't see them getting that much better. And they were 10-7 to begin with, which is why I was confused on why a lot of people were picking the Bucs in this game. I did pick the Commanders because of Jayden Daniels, but as a 12-5 football team. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about the Bucs going forward. Mike Evans is obviously getting older, but we'll see. Once again, we will see. Baker Mayfield is playing good football. I mean, I think Baker Mayfield and Jalen Hurts are on the same tier of quarterback. So, if that means anything to y'all. Vikings at Rams. The Rams won 27-9. This is the biggest blowout of the weekend, in my opinion. They had no chance in this one. The Vikings had zero chance. Sam Darnold played bad. Might have played himself out of a contract, but I would still franchise the guy. I didn't think he was absolutely atrocious yesterday. I think the game against Detroit was a lot worse. But this game wasn't lost. This game, obviously, was a 2-possession game when he fumbled that ball and they returned it for 6. I think it was Jared Verse who returned it for 6. And it was a 2-possession game. And it felt like they were pressing after that. There was a 4th down. And instead of punting it and ensuring that the Rams did not score in those final, 50 seconds, getting it on maybe their 10-yard line, they decided to go for it in minus territory and give the Rams 7 free points, making it a 3-possession game. I didn't understand that one bit. Didn't understand that by Kevin O'Connell, who I was stating was the coach of the year. I still believe he is. I mean, obviously, I don't think playoff matters when it comes to those awards, but that was an egregious decision in my opinion. And obviously, this game wasn't just lost by Sam Darnold. This game was lost by Sam Darnold. This game was lost by Kevin O'Connell. And this game was lost by the offensive line. Simple as that. The defense didn't play bad at all, because obviously they gave up a touchdown defensively, and then they gave up a touchdown late in the half when in the Rams getting it in plus territory. It felt like they were pressing. I don't know where that came from, why they feel like they needed to do that, but it was a horrible call, because if you punt that ball, it's 3-17, you get the ball out of halftime, you go down, make it 10-17, and now you got a football game. So I was extremely confused with that call. But that's all I have to say about the Vikings. They do have a tough decision coming up. I feel sorry for Justin Jefferson, because it feels like even though they had a 14-3 season, obviously the way this ended, it didn't feel like it. It didn't feel like it. We could be honest about it. And on the Rams side of things, playoff Matthew Stafford is here. Plays Philly next week, so I am scared because of that man right there. I think I've stated how much I love Matthew Stafford as a quarterback. But yeah, man, Matthew Stafford is back. Kyron Williams looked great yesterday, and that defense looks incredible. And they are young, which is the thing. And maybe it was a Sam Darnold thing. Maybe they just got after him more than they would obviously get after Philly with a better offensive line. But yeah, man. I mean, Matthew Stafford, I'm gonna give him his props because I think their season is gonna end next week. Matthew Stafford is just amazing, bro. I mean, the throws he had the best performance of any quarterback, I think, in the first round other than Jayden Daniels. He was amazing last night. Obviously, Puka played well. Cooper Kupp, great target. Kyron Williams, they still got him. They're getting healthy. So I don't know how great this team really is, because let's not forget, they were a 10-7 football team. They were a 10-7 football team this year, not winning a lot of great games. Their best wins were the Vikings, who I don't want to say are frauds, but and then against the Bills, who they outscored, which is good for them. But I've never been a big believer in Buffalo's defense. So yeah, props to the Rams for this dominant win, doing it for LA, who's obviously undergoing all the wildfires. So yeah, props to them. But with all that being said, quick recap. Let's talk about the matchups coming up. So let's start with the NFC. Rams at Eagles, 3 o'clock on Sunday, I believe. I do have the Eagles winning that game. And I think Jalen Hurts is going to have a big game because I think Matthew Stafford is going to play great. I do. I think it's going to be a little bit of a shootout. And Jalen Hurts is going to be required to make big plays, and he will. Because and the Rams secondary is depleted. I think one of their guys got hurt yesterday, which isn't good for them. So, and they were never the greatest anyway. So they're going to come after us once again. But yeah, I just got my team winning in this one. I think the talent discrepancy is a little bit too large. It's going to be in Philly. It's not going to be a 50-50 crowd like it was last night. It's going to be in Philly. It's probably going to be 95-5. So yeah. Get ready. They're going to get punched in the mouth. I don't think they're explosive enough offensively. I think Matthew Stafford, I don't know if he'll be able to do the things he was able to do against the Minnesota Vikings. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, I do think it'll be a little bit of a shootout. Maybe let's give some score predictions today because I'm feeling different. I'm going to say the Eagles are going to win 35-28. 35-28. I'm going to just put it like that. Commanders at Lions. I'm going to take the Lions in that one. They're well rested. This offense, I don't want to forget about what this offense is. This offense is probably the best in the league this year, and they've been that for 2 years now. They're just dominant. And the way they're going to get after Jayden Daniels, they're going to make him make throws, and I think he'll do it. I think this is going to be another one of those shootout games. So I'm going to go Detroit 38, Washington 32. This is going to be a great game. I'm so excited for this divisional round. I mean, every single game is a solid game. Texans at Chiefs. Once again, I said this is going to be a closer game than people think. I am going to take the Chiefs to win. It's not going to be as high scoring as these other games. I'm going to say maybe 21-17 Chiefs, but it's just going to be. It's Mahomes, man. It's Mahomes. That's the only reason I'm taking this team. Because honestly, if you look defensively, Houston might have a better defense than Kansas City does at this point. But against that, I just trust Mahomes to make the big time plays when they matter in the end of this game. Texans might be winning in the third quarter. They're probably going to be winning in the third quarter, and then the Chiefs are just going to have a late drive, and it's just going to seem like another type of black magic situation where they pull it out. And then Buffalo is hosting Baltimore in the divisional round. Best game of the week, in my opinion. This game is interesting. It's going to be it's going to be physical. It's going to be physical. James Cook is evolving as a running back. He's probably a top 10 running back at this point in his career. But yeah, I'm going to go with Baltimore. I think Baltimore's going to win this game 24-21. Justin Tucker magic late in the game. This is going to be a great game. Great game. Obviously, Baltimore destroyed Buffalo at the beginning of the season, which is why I am taking Baltimore. But it's in Buffalo, and it's going to be a little bit different because Buffalo has found their offensive weapons a little bit more valuable than they were at that point in the season. I mean, the only person he was really throwing to at that point in the season was Khalil Shakir. And now they got Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kincaid, Keon Coleman is playing pretty good. Amari Cooper is good, so we'll see. But yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in to this wild card recap. We will have more videos soon. Like, comment, subscribe, and peace out.